within the last 3 months. Joining me now is Thomas Lee, Fundstrat Global Advisors, Managing Partner, Head of Research, and CNBC contributor on why he is still bullish nonetheless. So, Tom, tell us, you've got these monthly fluctuations. As you say, Ethereum is in a super cycle. What makes you stay bullish?
Well, there's the story of building on Ethereum, and we know that there is a lot taking place. There are stablecoin creations. Larry Fink and BlackRock and Wall Street want to tokenize assets, bring stocks, bonds, real estate onto the blockchain, and they have to find a neutral 100% uptime blockchain. That's Ethereum. And that's the fundamental story. The price, of course, for Ethereum will fluctuate because crypto is hyper volatile. In fact, it's kind of it's sort of a feature of the blockchain itself. And I think we've been in a downtrend, unfortunately. A lot of folks are kind of questioning if we're in a 4-year cycle for Bitcoin. So we talk about that in the chairman's message we published this morning, that the most correlated factor to Bitcoin prices when you see it at Bitcoin at a peak actually is the ISM. So I think we're still in a correction phase of crypto. Crypto suffered from that liquidation event on October 10th, but because the fundamental story is intact and we crypto discounts the future, that's why it's volatile, but it still looks pretty attractive here. And
What do you
personally,
think
I
is
think
the
that we're
fundamental
pretty close to
story at
bottoming
this
this
point in
week.
time for Ethereum? Because you've got this general market risk-off mentality. So what are some of the idiosyncratic elements that we should be thinking about as it pertains to Ethereum in the meantime?
Well, Ethereum kind of has several ways that it establishes a floor. One is the value of all the assets locked onto the blockchain, and that number is growing. But historically, Ethereum bottoms when that ratio is about 50%. So I'd say we're pretty close to that level. That's why I think Ethereum probably is bottoming this week. But the other way to look at Ethereum is really its price ratio or even its network value ratio to Bitcoin. It currently sits at, this number is 0.032. The long-term average, like the 8-year average, if we were just to trade to that 8-year average, would put Ethereum at around 12,000. So I think Ethereum is undervalued because, number one, the story is gaining relative to Bitcoin this year. But two, we're getting this sort of intrinsic floor because of the value that the assets locked onto the Ethereum blockchain.
All right. Tom Lee saying that Ethereum is bottoming this week. We will see, and we are actually going to continue the conversation over at etfedge.cnbc.com. Tom will be joined by Matt Haugen, CIO at Bitwise Asset Management. Scott, I'll send it back to you.